Hello everyone, and welcome to the second part of my monthly reading roundup for September. In the first part, I talked about the books that I acquired this month, whether through publishers or through many trips to the bookshop. So today I wanted to talk about the books that I actually managed to read this month. I'm not gonna lie, despite a reading slump at the beginning of the month, which lasted about a week and a half, I managed to read 8 books this month. 8 books! Which is awesome. I've been getting through about 6 lately, and that's because there's been lots of other things to be very distracting, like TV shows and video games. However, I'm really glad that I've got back on track with my reading. So without any further ado, let's talk about these books. So the first book that I managed to read, I was actually reading at the time that I did my wrap-up for last month, and I think I finished it the night that that went live. So this is going to count for September. That is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. And now I love her so much. I've been talking about her constantly all over this channel. I talk about it constantly in real life. And I did not really like this book. And I hate to say it because Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom are amazing books. I'm so looking forward to her Wonder Woman book, which I talk about nonstop. It just didn't really have the same kind of appeal to me. So a lot of the things that make Six of Crows amazing to me were really absent in this book. One of them being the main characters, especially the female characters. So in this one, you get Alina, and she is she's an orphan girl. She's in the military. She's like a cartographer's apprentice. She has this best friend who naturally she's in love with, named Mal, who's a tracker. And he kind of like, she's sort of one of the bros in the group. She's never really been the woman that he's ever really paid attention to other than as a friend. So one day, she thinks that she's ordinary, she thinks that she's very normal. One day she finds out that she is actually a Grisha, and a Grisha is a sort of class of magicians. So there are different types of Grisha within this world. She finds out that she is the first sun summoner in however many years, a very, very long time. I didn't like Alina. I thought she was okay, she was fine. But she doesn't have the same kind of fire and spark that someone like Inej or like Nina have in Six of Crows. A lot of her sort of anxieties are tied up in the way that she looks and how the boy in her life feels, and honestly, just over that kind of character. I think that there's so much more interesting stuff that you can talk about, and other interesting sort of anxieties that she can have. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. I just thought it was okay. So speaking of Shadow and Bone, this brings me to the only book that I DNF'd this month, and that was Siege and Storm. It's the second book in the Grisha trilogy, and I got, there's so many bookmarked here, I got to page 102, which if you've seen my DNFing video, I give a book 100 pages, and if it doesn't capture my interest by then, if I don't want to continue reading it, I gotta put it aside. I tried 3 times to get back into this book, and it was not happening. The romance and sort of, there were bits that I loved. Like, I like all the bits with the Darkling. I hated all the bits with Alina and Mal. I just found them so dull. They're so, like, they're just not interesting people. They're not compelling people like the characters in Six of Crows. And I think that it shows that she's really developed as a writer, because Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom came later. So I'm hoping that because these are earlier books, that, you know, anything that she comes out with later on will still be kind of at the level of Six of Crows. I did just find out, I think yesterday, it was announced that she's going to be writing a standalone, at least one standalone book, or like a duology, I think it's a duology, about one of the characters in this book. So I'm probably gonna have to revisit at some point, but I'm just not interested. Next up is actually a proof that I got from Yelk. So I was really pleased to get this. I didn't know anything about it. I had never heard of it. I had never heard of the author before, but I really loved the cover and I really loved the premise, and that is Blackbird by N.D. Gomes. So this is about a girl named Alex. She lives in Orkney, which island's up very, very north of Scotland. Her sister Olivia disappears. I'm sure that you can imagine that's probably not going to go well for Olivia, sadly. But her sister disappears, and it's not so much about what happens to her sister. That's obviously going to be a big part of it. But it's more about sort of how Olivia, who's only 15, has to sort of live through this trauma and how it affects her family and sort of her relationship that develops with this, not creepy relationship, I want to point that out, her relationship that develops with sort of the head police officer who's got his own kind of very sad past. I really enjoyed this book. On the back cover, if you picked this up or if you've read anything about it, you'll see that it's tied in. The first thing that it says on the back is, on New Year's Eve, 5,000 blackbirds dropped dead. The same day, Olivia McCarthy went missing from a small coastal village in Orkney. But blackbirds have nothing to do with the plot. Literally nothing to do with the plot. And I think it's supposed to be a metaphor, but it just doesn't really work. It should have been cut. It should have been cut from the back. It's on the front. Like, I feel like that's really misleading. So if you're going into this expecting something kind of supernatural, don't. It is very much contemporary. It's very much about a crime and it's about grief. It's not anything supernatural. There's no fantasy here. I really enjoyed this book. I can see, I don't think there were very many ratings when I read it, so I'm gonna have to go back and check. So I don't know how people have reacted to this. I can see it being kind of a love it or leave it kind of book. I happen to love it. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. So the next book, I've talked about this a gazillion and one time, so I'm just gonna breeze through it really quick. Electric Dreams by Philip K. Dick. Loved it, thought it was amazing, really enjoyed this. Great place to start with him. I have a video review, I have a blog review. I've talked about this everywhere, so if you're interested, pick it up. If you haven't actually heard anything about this, just go back and watch a couple of my videos. I talk about this constantly. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. So next on the list is actually one that I talked about in my TBR video yesterday, and that is Gavin Smith's The Bastard Legion. Again, I won't go into this too much because I talked about it yesterday. Really fun military sci-fi. Maybe not the best place to start if you haven't read much sci-fi before. Super fun though, great technology, great world building, really cool kind of gray area characters. This is a really fun book. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I'm going to be posting a review of it on its publication date, which is the 5th of October. So next up on the list is actually a book I talked about yesterday on my book haul video. So again, I'm going to kind of breeze through it a little bit, but that is Marie Lu's Warcross. I have never read any of her books before. I was really worried that the hype was going to ruin it. It didn't. It was awesome. It was so much fun. It has a couple of problems, maybe small issues. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars because it's good fun. So next up is a book that I borrowed from my parents and I've actually given back, so I don't have it here, and that is The Outrun by Amy Littrott. So this is a memoir. I don't read a lot of memoirs because I don't actually like memoirs. Maybe it means that I'm not a very nice person, but I find that they tend to be very self-indulgent, especially if they have anything to do with, say, like addiction, which this is about. However, what I liked about The Outrun is that it's not about her addiction, it's about her recovery. So this book is about Amy, and she was born on one of the islands in Orkney. Orkney is a theme this month, apparently. And she always, her whole life, wanted to get off the island, and she did. She moved down to London and kind of lived the party lifestyle. And she became very much an alcoholic, and she ended up ruined a lot of her life. She had a couple of incidents, she lost a lot of friendships, she lost, the places that she was living in, and she was basically kind of, living very much at the bottom. And she gets herself into recovery, and she decides that she's going to go back home to Orkney. And this book is mostly about sort of what she does after she after she's in recovery, after she comes back from London. And I thought it was just fantastic. I thought it was so good. I just really enjoyed it. There's no self-pity here. She's very like matter-of-fact about the way that, her life went. It sucked. She did a lot of bad things happened to her, but she's very matter-of-fact about it. She's like, I was an alcoholic. This is what I did to recover. And I thought that was so great. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this. This is a memoir for people who don't like memoirs, like me. So next up on the list is actually the only digital ARC that I read this month, and that is Invictus by Ryan Groudon. So I was at Yelk, and they were giving away proofs of this book, and it was Sunday, so it was the last day. It was Monday, it was Friday to Sunday. And by that point, I saw the crowd of people, and I was like, there's no freaking way that I am standing in line for this book. I'm sure it's going to be on NetGalley. Sure enough, it was. So I managed to get myself a copy on my Kindle. This book was very hyped. People were really excited about it. I thought it was just okay, and I'm kind of sad to say that. I've never read any of her books before, so I don't really have any kind of reference for what her books are like. So essentially, Invictus is about a crew of sort of black market time travelers. So it's set in the future, in Rome, actually, and there's the time travel corps, and that's kind of, it's all very organized time travel, and there are so many people, obviously, who want to time travel, of course they do, that there are more sort of people than there are spaces available on these ships that travel. So Faraway is our hero, and he actually, he's the son of a time traveler, and he fails his exams. He gets kicked out of the Corps. He's not going to be able to travel, and this is like absolutely devastating to him. So he's approached by a sort of black market dealer in stolen historic goods, and he's offered a job. He will be able to travel wherever he wants, la-di-da-di-da. This guy has a client list, and they want certain specific artifacts. So they go back and they steal them, and they sell them, and you know, life is good. I thought it was okay. I'm really sad, and most of the reason that I thought it was just okay is because I hated Faraway. I thought he was awful. I have a lot of words about him that I shall not bring up now. I think that I will say that he is a brat. He's an absolute brat. I was really hoping for some kind of, you know, redemption arc, which I think was attempted and I don't think worked. I can do a spoilery review. If you want to talk about this in the comments, definitely let me know. But he just never pulls his head out of his own ass. I really didn't like him. He rubbed me the wrong way so much, and you know, it's a shame because I really liked a lot of the other characters that are featured on this crew of this ship. So Faraway is the captain, and there's Imogen, who's the historian. She's the one who sort of knows everything about the place that they're going to. She outfits them, she sort of preps them. She's amazing, she's awesome. She's just like, she's a very kind of bouncy, vivacious, fun, colorful person. She's got rainbow hair. It changes every single day. She's obsessed with gelato, like, can totally relate to that. And I thought that she was just so much fun. There's Priya, who is the ship's medic, who's Faraway's girlfriend, who he is so not worthy of, by the way. She is amazing. And she's so kind of like, she's sort of the one that keeps everyone very grounded. I thought she was wonderful. There's a red panda named Saffron. Saffron's awesome. Really desperately want a red panda now. There's an engineer, his name is, oh god, I don't even remember his name, Graham, I think, and he's kind of boring. He just doesn't have much going for him other than the fact that he and Imogen like each other and they have this like will they, won't they. That's really it. That's all you can really say about him. So there are parts of it that worked, parts of it that didn't, and I don't know, I just wanted it to be better. There's a whole, the plot just kind of goes off in a whole nother direction at some point, and I can wrap my head around time travel sometimes. Obviously, time travel's not a real thing that I know of. And so it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, and you try to make sense of it when you're writing a book about time travel, and I thought she did that really, really well. And then it just kind of goes off in another direction, and I couldn't wrap my head around that. I couldn't get these two things together in one. I gave it a 3 out of 5. I thought it was alright, and you know, I'm really disappointed. So next I wanted to talk about the books that I'm currently reading. However, this next book is actually one that, while I'm still technically currently reading it, I'm going to count it as having read it because I'm hoping to finish it tonight. And that's before this video goes live. So that is Matilda. I am 60 pages in. I am really liking it. It is, as I said in my video yesterday, it's kind of hard to read about such horrible abusive parents when you're an adult, but when I was a kid, probably wouldn't have noticed, to be honest. I was a little bit oblivious, but it is so fun, and the illustrations are so cute. I love Quentin Blake so much. I'm really, really enjoying this book, and I'm really, really glad that I ended up picking it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and count this as having read it, but I'm not going to give it a star rating because I'm not even halfway through. Last but not least is a book that I am genuinely currently reading, and this was actually on my September TBR video. I didn't really get a chance to finish it. I didn't even know I didn't mark my place. This is problematic. I am about 100 some odd pages in, and that is Shadows of Self by Brandon Sanderson. As I said in that video, we are doing, for my book club, I'm going to do Mistborn, The Final Empire. Which is the first Mistborn book. This is the 5th Mistborn book. So I have read the first 4, so the first trilogy completed. I've read the first book in the second trilogy. This is the 2nd book in the 2nd trilogy. My original plan was to read this and Bands of Mourning, which is the next book, and finish off all of the Mistborn books before I loop back around and start Mistborn the Final Empire, but I don't think that's going to happen. I need to pick up Final Empire again and reread it, because if I'm going to talk about it in book club, I will have to actually have read it recently. I think I read it 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that. So it's not exactly fresh in my mind, and I do really want to reread it. So I'm going to tackle this first, and then I'll go back around to Mistborn the Final Empire. So that is it for the books that I have read this month. It was a really, really good month for reading. It was a really good month for books. It was a really good month for blogging. I launched this channel this month. It has been busy, to say the least, so I'm a little bit surprised that I managed to actually read that many books. So next up, I'm going to film my TBR for October, which is going to be long and complicated because I've got a lot going on in October. But if you want to keep up with the videos on this channel, go ahead and click subscribe, give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Go ahead and check out my other videos, leave a comment, let's have a chat. One of the best things about being on BookTube and book blogging is that you get to talk to other readers, so definitely reach out if you'd like to. I am all over social media, generally being overexcited about most things, so I will leave links to all of those below, and I will see you soon.